How's it going, everybody? I hope y'all are doing well. This blows my mind to think about, but I remember a time before smartphones. Yeah, there was a time before smartphones, and I remember it. I think I'm the last generation to experience that world, and it really was a different world in a lot of ways. You would go out in the public, and people, they were looking around them, and they were looking at the things around them, and they were looking at each other and acknowledging one another. It was just completely different. You go out in the world today, of course, everybody's bowing down to the smartphone. If you think about it, I know that sounds crazy, but if you think about it, just next time you're out in public, just look around, and are people not kind of bowing down to this phone? I'm not trying to make that more than it is. It's just an observation. And, I guess in some ways I'm not much different because I have to work with my phone a lot. And when I'm out in public, I'm working and I'm using apps on the phone, and I have to manipulate the app, and I'm looking at the phone. I do try to stay aware of my surroundings as much as possible, though, and it is what it is, right? And I like to make connections with humans, and, I have conversations with people throughout the day. But that happens less and less, and maybe that's a product of me being privileged enough to grow up in a time before smartphones. Gen Z gets a lot of flack. People talk about the Gen Z stare and stuff like that. But guys, you can't blame them, because they grew up with all these devices, with all the social media being what it is today. And it's shaped the way people communicate, and it's shaped the way people experience the world. It's vastly different. And I think that, when it comes to Gen Z and anybody younger than that, I see that they crave something real that I don't even know if we can get back at this point, that I experienced it. And it's sad. I mean, dude, it's, I don't want to get doom and gloom about it, but it's, one thing we can do is, obviously, those of us who experienced that, is to share that and maybe just kind of live it, right? I do. I talk to people when I'm at work, when I'm working in the world out there, and I speak with people if they're willing to speak, or if they want to have a conversation. I'll have the conversation, make eye contact, listen, and then interact, really, the way people used to before smartphones. It's not like we've completely lost it, but it's close, right? Let me know if you remember a time before smartphones, or if you were pretty much born into this thing that we live today. Because I was just thinking about it, and I was like, man, it blows my mind. What Gen Z probably wouldn't give to be able to experience that world. And so they catch a lot of flack, but it's like, I understand it. They just want something real, and everything now is fake. That social media, people are struggling out here to survive. And then you look on social media, and it's everybody flaunting how rich they are, how well they're doing, you know what I mean? And that's probably the minority, right, of people. And it might not even be real. It's a facade in a lot of ways. And so this is the demoralization that's happened over time. And it's happened through the access to that fake world through the cell phone all day long, right? I mean, if you think about it, how much screen time you spend on the phone, and you take the phone out of the equation like it didn't exist, and you realize that's how much time you would have had in the real world before. And that's how we grew up, man. I mean, work on cars, go, like when I was really young, go play in the woods, maybe in a park if you're in the city, right? Like exploring the city, probably. You get older, like I said, working on cars, going out for a drive, hanging out in the parking lots, hanging out at the mall, get into trouble, of course, but it's just, I don't know if the generations that are coming up now are going to experience any of that. And I'm not sure what effect that's going to have down the the road, but we're going to find out sooner than later. And just remember, like, we can't really blame them, you know? But it was an interesting time, man. You didn't have Amazon where you could order things to your door and have it there, you know, 2 hours later or whatever. You didn't have that. You didn't have instant access to pretty much everything and everybody in the world, right? I remember a time in high school thinking about, and I realized, it was when I realized, I was like, we're going to all be connected in this weird way on the internet. You know, Facebook was, I don't know if Facebook was a thing. MySpace was. Facebook was just maybe coming out. I don't know. But we all had MySpace. And that was on the computer. Of course, you had to access it through a desktop. And yeah, I just remember realizing that everything was going to be connected. But you know what I didn't realize was how disconnected everything would actually be as a result. So I think people crave that connection. They crave that reality. Being aware, being in the world. We might see a wave of people just putting down the smartphones, going for a walk, putting down the smartphone for the day, like, you know, but we might not also, right? Because these things are so integrated into our lives now. Like I said, I need mine for work. You know, with a family, you want to keep up with your family and make sure everybody's okay. So it's like, can't even imagine putting the phone down, right? And not having access just in case an emergency happened, right? Remember, dude, I went out and would go drive. Of course, I did have a phone at one point. It was like a Nokia brick phone, best phone ever made. But I went out and I would go drive and just go, right? Or I would go out into the woods when I was a little kid and just go and explore. We didn't have a cell phone. You know, actually, my mom had like a call that, it was like a call, like, you know, it was a certain sound and she would make the sound and it would resonate. You could hear it for like quarter mile, half mile in the woods or whatever. And then we would come back, you know, it was just a different time, just a different time. Can't imagine doing that now, right? Can't imagine letting your kids go run and just be free, really, because there's so much stuff out there, so much stuff going on. It's wild. Anyway, I don't know what I really am trying to accomplish by this video. It's just something that I was thinking about, and it kind of blew my mind. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you think the world is a better place. Do you think it's getting worse? Do you think this is a threat to humanity, to our connections with each other? What do you think about these smartphones? You wish they never existed? I don't know. We'll probably talk more about this later on, but that's the end of the video today. I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out.